News Talk 98.9, the roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
Well, this is Tool Talk Radio, and this is Allan. Joe is out. We're going to say out on assignment. That's good. That's a good word for it.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, that's a plane. Well, I am sitting here with my partner in culinary crime and the occasional geekitude is Mr. Brandon Olmstead.
How are we doing today, Allan?
We are doing amazing because we are sitting here on the road, on the tarmac, at the Millington Air Show in Millington, Tennessee.
The Mid-South Air Show's it's one of my favorite things that happens in our area. You know, I talk about, me and the son don't get along. This is the one time I will go out in public during the day.
With the big hat.
Well, yeah.
You got the serious hat.
Well, I'm a redneck Jedi. It's how it works.
I was going to point out that, you are the first person I've ever seen show up at an air show with the big hat and a lightsaber.
Hey, somebody's got to.
I'm just pointing out, so you guys kind of get the idea what's going to happen during Geek Tank later in the day. And we are also joined by, the Kemosabe himself. Ditch is sitting here with us. Yeah, I've got a thumbs up that says he's playing on the computer and getting ready to go take lots of pictures. Well, all I got to say is setting up earlier this week.
Right.
If you are into tools, power, and heaven help airplanes, and, of course, there's this subtle movie that just came out all about airplanes.
Oh.
And I actually got to watch these people practice this week.
Oh, really? So you got a pre-show?
I have already seen the show.
Nice.
I've already seen the show, but the show wasn't way out there. They were practicing, right here over the tent. And all I got to say is I never knew an airplane could sneak up on you.
Well,
And they can.
I mean, you've seen Top Gun, right? It doesn't matter if the pattern's full. Somebody's flying over. They're going to buzz your tower.
It's one thing to see it in a movie, and it's another thing to actually have it happen and feel the jet wash.
Right.
It is a little different. So.
Well, I would hope so.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are planning on joining us out here in Millington today, oh my goodness, what a beautiful day.
Yeah.
Well, we have all of that. We've got a little bit of stuff to unpack today. We're going to talk about, of course, the heat.
What's that?
Yeah, that heat.
The heat?
That heat thing.
Uh-huh.
We're going to talk a little bit about a Critter Wars. We've got more going on with that. We're going to dredge up 30 years of stupid here in just a few minutes, and we're going to brace for a remodel. But, of course, Max, if you would please, but first.
And now, Tool Talk Radio's Weekly Salute.
It came to my attention, I was flipping through a tool catalog recently,
okay,
that any number of tools wind up named after people.
That makes sense. I mean, everything else gets named after the people who invent or discover it.
And, I was kind of looking around and I went, well, we're sitting here with Ditch.
Oh.
Kind of done there.
Well, there you go.
Then, of course, I have... everybody constantly asks me for
a wrench,
an Allen wrench.
Yeah.
Yep. Which I find funny that it's bent and weirdly shaped.
Well, that you are bent, at least from a personality standpoint.
So I was debating what would a Brandon be.
Oh, it's just going to sit in the corner and make fun of the rest of your tools while not actually accomplishing anything.
So you're the actual toolbox.
I am the toolbox.
There you are, the toolbox. That is now a Brandon. Well, that'll bring us to a lovely gentleman by the name of Henry F. Phillips, because I was wondering about the Phillips head screwdriver, and was it actually named after somebody?
Oh, well, I'm guessing
Henry.
I'm guessing
it was.
Henry.
It was.
Now,
back in the 30s, a businessman in Portland, Oregon, was noticing that machinery wasn't working as well as it could.
Okay.
Because they had to constantly reset and rebrace the machines that put in screws.
Okay.
So he went,
Makes sense.
what we need is something that is self-leveling and can take more torque. So what he came up with was what we call today the Phillips head screwdriver and the Phillips head screw.
And then I'm guessing that it was his wife who came around and said, that isn't quite good enough, and came up with the hex key.
Probably.
I'm going to get so much hate mail.
Well, this is one of these things where, okay, do you patent that? It's just a dent.
Well, That's a good question.
And
So
it is
I mean,
indeed patent number 1,908,080, and it's listed as a recessed cruciform screw.
Oh, wow. That's technical.
Yes. That was also patented by Mr. John P. Thompson, as opposed to the guy who just invented them and started selling them.
I'm sorry, Alan. I'm officially out of the show.
Yep. Cause
Military puppies.
Yeah. I don't think he's going for belly rubs. That's
No, that's the dog you don't touch.
Yeah, and that is why we're on this side of the fence now.
He's in training.
So, welcome to Tool Talk Radio, ladies and gentlemen. We're on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We are being brought to you by the Brown Refrigeration Studios on the road. We're in Millington at the air show, and we're going to be distracted today.
It's gonna.
We're going to have a lot of distractions.
It's like I'm hoping it's not getting picked up on the air, but I can hear the helicopter coming in from right behind us.
Yeah, he's actually just not that far away. It's kind of funny. He's bringing up a nice breeze.
Yes.
Which is going to wander off into our first topic. What an interesting segue. A helicopter to talk about the heat.
Joe would be proud of this segue.
Joe would be proud of us right now. All right, well, guys, it's hot.
It is hot.
It's hot.
But
it's been hot. It's going to stay hot for a while.
It's June in Memphis, so it's hot and it's humid.
It's hot. It's humid. Happily, we have a helicopter-induced breeze right now. But this is where I'm going to look at Ditch and say, I got a phone call earlier this week. And, actually, I've gotten this phone call several times this week. And it's all started with, my house is 90 degrees. Or my living room, or my dining room, or my, my lobby,
Right.
It's been kind of rough because we had such a lovely long spring.
Right.
With lots of water, and the temperature stayed relatively
fairly
cool.
mild. And then all of a sudden it says, oh, we forgot, it's summer, and it jumped 30 degrees.
And TVA said we actually set a record this week.
We did.
For kilowatts delivered.
Oh.
So that should tell you we went from, puttering around the park electricity-wise and HVAC-wise to slammed into a full-out, NASCAR-style race.
Right.
And this has put a lot of stress on systems.
Well, yeah, I don't think my AC has cut off at all this week. I think it's been running constantly.
Yeah, possibly not.
24/7.
Well, and the one thing we discovered, and Ditch and I were working on a unit, and talk about, spring just literally quit just a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
And the unit we were working around, Ditch, was surrounded by giant oak trees.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you are, where you're listening, if you have big giant oak trees or not, but if you do, these things make a lot of pollen.
And they will clog a filter and a unit very quickly.
And it's not necessarily just the filter. And it's not necessarily can I see between the fins out on the unit.
No, you got to get inside.
Because that's what was happening with this unit. It was choking, basically.
Yeah.
And it got so bad where there was a safety on it, so then the fan kept blowing, but the actual compressor shut off.
Yes.
Because it was working too hard.
Right.
So you put your hand over the fan, and typically you should feel a relatively warm air coming off of that, and it was cool. And so I told Alan, I said, something ain't right. And inside the house it was 85 degrees and 90% humidity. I said, something really ain't right.
Yeah.
And so Alan came to the rescue with the magic.
Well, we hit it with a heavy-duty coil cleaner, and we used a hose applicator to really get it between the fins.
Yeah.
And, the funny thing is from the outside of the unit, it looked pretty good. It looked okay. Until you started rinsing all of that stuff off the coils.
And you're watching that initial state of yellow just coming away.
Brown and yellow.
And then it gets into the deeper browns.
Now I'll ask you this, Alan, for those listening who may want to take a look at their unit at home, is there a place or is there a home remedy for this? In other words, can I mix up vinegar and something or other and spray it on those fins to clean it, or does this have to be a licensed industrial cleaner that you have to get, or can you go to a store and get it yourself?
Well, most of your big box stores and hardware stores carry some type of coil cleaner that you can do yourself.
Version of
right. The biggest thing is, have you done it this year? Especially right now, because we just got done with spring. And we've jumped right into this huge, serious amount of heat.
Larry Brown has been busy this week with people who realized they needed it done.
Oh, my gosh.
And they called Larry, and he said, I'll have somebody come over, but we'll
as
put
soon
you
as
on the
we
list.
get there, yeah. Our good buddies at Brown Refrigeration, you can reach them at 901-362-1881. And they were, I know they're completely slammed on them right now, but, they have a special where they'll come out and check your unit, clean your unit, and make sure it's in good working order.
Yeah.
Because, as you said, when these things clog up and they back up and that compressor turns off.
It was magic, though. After Allan hosed it lightly, again, when we talk about hose it, you're not putting your hose setting on jet. Because those spins will bend easy, and if they start getting all closed up, then you're going to have the same problem, and you're going to end up having to get a new one, unless you want to hire somebody to sit there and try to file through all of them, and it will take days. But I saw Larry Brown on Channel 5 earlier this week, and he said, they were stacked up with calls, but in times like this, they prioritize elderly and people who are at some sort of a heat risk first. And then if it's just some schmo who just didn't bother to get his unit cleaned until now, and he's on the phone, Larry,
we'll get to you,
but we're going to have to get to 84-year-old Joe over here who needs it. So,
and just lots of little things that, again, he brought up the filters.
Yeah.
And I don't think people truly understand how their home and their HVAC balances.
Right.
It's a removal of hot air and returning cold air. Is that correct, Allan?
Mostly.
Yeah.
Mostly.
So it's like hanging out with Joe.
A lot of hot air. Joe, who's not here today, so the jokes will continue.
I told him not to listen, but I'm sure he will.
Oh, he's cringing right now.
Of course he is.
He's just having a fit. He'll call in a minute, right? Okay, so here we go. What you have is the unit you see outside is the unit that is exchanging the heat. That's why it's outside your house.
It's taking the heat from the inside and bringing it out.
Right. So what happened is that compressor pushes all the refrigerant through all those coils and all those little fins, and it gets rid of that heat. And when it literally compresses down, it's pushing that material back into your home. And when it changes state, it absorbs energy, thus creating the cold. And that is what is happening inside your house at the air handler with usually something called an A-frame. That's that's that little one that's inside the air handler.
Typically, this is stuff you don't see if you but that's what it is. It goes in. There are coils outside in the big compressor unit that's blowing, and then there is a what Allan is describing as an A-frame inside your box in the unit in your house that is also coils and fins, and it works as part of the system.
And the filter protects those fins from getting gummed up.
Yeah.
So that's why it's always important to keep that filter going. The other thing is, if you don't have really great HVAC flow in your home, find your return vents.
This is important. I'm going to jump in here because homeowners think that if you, and I've even heard Larry Brown say this, is just one of the most common things that can happen at your house. If you see a vent if you have a house where there are vents on your floor, for example, and you say, well, just put the credenza over that thing. It's not, we're not getting any air blowing out. That is not a airflow out. That's an intake. So what your house is doing is it's taking the cool air that's in your house, pulling it through multiple intake vents, and running it back through the system. And the point of that is so the system doesn't have to work as hard to cool that air.
Exactly.
But people tend to close or cover those things up.
Yep.
And now your system is working way harder than it should be.
Twice as hard to move half the air.
And one of the biggest things is I'm a pet guy. If you've got one of those that is close enough to your furniture that you don't clean it on the regular, everything, dander and all, will bulk up right against it, and it won't be bringing in anything, which can burn out a unit.
Well, that's when you get into having to have the ducts cleaned.
Right. Which is not a fun thing.
No, because especially if you've had pets.
Yeah.
I don't have furred animals in my house, but I bought a house that had furred animals in it.
Well, you are a furred animal once a month.
It happens. But, honestly, we cleaned about half a German Shepherd out of each of the floor vents.
Right.
Because just that much over the years of fur had built up in there, so we had that cleaned out. And the other thing I'm going to point out is the scent change once you've cleaned vents.
Right.
So this is not something I'm saying you have to do every year, but especially if you're looking at right now, a lot of houses are buying and selling, I would advocate possibly getting the vents cleaned before you move in. On your way out or on your way in, now is a really good time.
And the ducts.
Get all of that stuff cleaned and done.
I mean, it's like if you're looking to sell a property, make sure that too, because that cool air, that decent scent in your house, it's going to appeal to your buyers.
Yes. Well, if your house smells better than theirs.
Right.
And, it's funny how when we bring up any topic,
That's
it begins
why we
to
bake
domino.
cookies when we sell houses.
That's right. That's why you have those cute aromatherapy candles that smell like food.
Yep.
So they're good. All right. So heat and heat management. Another thing we need to talk about is windows.
I don't want to talk about windows.
If you walk by your window and you feel on an afternoon like today a light blast furnace, you have some caulking to do.
Oh, yeah.
There are all different types of windows to go into heat management with this. The best, of course, are the double paned with an inert gas in there like argon.
Yeah.
These are truly the best. If you've got an older home with a single pane, there are membranes you can put on them to help, kind of basically a little sunscreen,
right,
to help block that. Now, and I get asked all the time, does that actually work?
Yeah. Now, and also, well, I mean, it does to a degree.
To a point.
To a degree.
Point. It can only do so much.
But explain to me, as a layman who doesn't know much about windows as it is, the importance of having the argon between the two panes.
Well, anytime you have a buffer,
right?
Anytime you put space, and it doesn't have to be argon; it could just be air.
Okay.
But anytime you have where the energy is radiating in and striking the first surface, that's when it's dispelling most of its power.
Okay.
And if you have a single pane window, that's the point of impact. Now, if you have an air buffer or you have an argon buffer, you now have a distance that the heat has to press through to get to the second surface. And again, you dispel more energy and less comes through that pane.
So it's like trying to get through you pass the MPs trying to get on the base if you don't have a media pass.
Exactly.
Okay.
So,
these things are like magic. You flip them.
Well, our photographer did get to flashy badge somebody earlier, and she was just ecstatic. She got to run through. So heat management, we're talking about your air conditioners. We're talking about your windows. Another thing I'm going to throw in real quick is watering the plants. For heat management, give them a little drink early, give them a drink late. If you give them a drink right in the middle of the heat of the day, it might do them some good, and you might have just steamed your broccoli.
And as a person with a full garden, you know all about that.
Yes, I have a lot of plants.
Yeah, I was going to say, your plants don't need to be watered necessarily when you're thirsty. So if it's really hot, you're like, man, I'm really thirsty. I'll bet you the plants are too. It's not necessarily the best time to go out and flood your plants.
Right. Yeah, I find actually if you can, hit them early, brace them for it.
Okay.
They already got a little moisture. They're good for the day.
Okay. What is a telltale sign, though, in this heat that your plants do need extra water?
They're going to start wilting. That's the biggie. They're going to start looking like they're in a steamer.
All right, they'll droop.
Yeah, when they start giving it the little pitiful thing. The other trick I have learned, especially in potted plants,
right?
And you put a little water in, it runs right out the bottom. Right.
Right.
Have you ever thought about watering your plants with ice cubes?
Personally, no, because it's like I don't have potted plants.
Okay,
but,
well, if you have potted plants,
but no, that makes a lot of sense.
And you're worried about them running because the water runs out immediately.
Yeah.
Water them with ice cubes. a few ice cubes on top. They will melt gradually.
That's how I water
saturating the
me when
soil.
we're out here.
Yes, well, we're going to douse you in some ice cubes here shortly. So welcome to a little heat management. Believe it or not, some leftover ice cubes will do an amazing job at keeping things looking fresh on the patio.
Okay.
And especially if you've got evening activity coming up. Because, of course, as soon as the heat breaks, the evenings are gorgeous.
They really are.
They're nice, they're warm, they're dry. You got a breeze blowing.
I mean, a couple of weeks ago, we even waited until the sun hit, and it was like, okay, it's nice. Let's start a fire. We did s'mores in my backyard. It was amazing.
Well, that is that kind of season.
Yeah.
So, welcome to a little heat management. So, this is Tool Talk Radio on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're being brought to you by the Brown Refrigeration Studios on the road this week from the Millington Air Show in Millington, Tennessee. And when we come back, we're going to talk about a few critters. This is Tool Talk Radio on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis, brought to you by the Brown Refrigeration Studios. However, we're on the Brown Refrigeration mobile studio this week because we're on the road from the Millington Air Show in Millington, Tennessee. And Brandon, they have rolled some heavy-duty equipment out there.
I can't tell what it is from here, but
it's really sharp and pointy, and it looks like it goes
it's shiny,
really fast.
See, the sun is glaring off of it, but I'm excited because it's gonna take off soon.
There's gonna be some background.
See, I wasn't here for the practice sessions like you were. So I'm sitting here like an 8-year-old in line at Disney going, gimme, 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 gimme.
Yeah, I've had 4 Blue Angels fly over me upside down this week.
That's always fun.
That was just utterly amazing. So
I still can't. I used to be able to tell. I used to come to this thing with my grandfather all the time, and he would tell me which plane is what and everything. And I got to the point where I could tell just by seeing it taxi out what we were fixing to get. And I guess I've gotten old.
Well, there's a lot of new stuff.
It's also been a minute since I've been here.
There's a lot of new stuff. Yeah. So, since we're talking about things over our head, I figured I'd do a Joe transition segue there. We're going to talk briefly about Big M Roofing and Remodeling because, ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to text us today while we're out here, you can text us on the Big M Roofing and Remodeling hotline at 901-683-0989. And since I'm going to bring up, I'm going to go ahead and say if your roof is cooked at this point.
That's a good way of putting it today.
If your roof is cooked, if you are looking for roofing help, give Jay Hill at Big M Roofing and Remodeling a buzz. Their phone number is 901-484-5654. Full disclosure, I live under one of his roofs.
I do too, and so does Joe.
Yeah.
Met them a couple years back. Quality work, and one of the great things about it is that Jay Hill is also a former insurance agent, so he knows exactly how to talk to your insurance agency to make sure that they cover the damage that you should get covered for. And it was a painless process.
It was.
It really was. His crew sent out the stuff the day before they came out. They had my entire roof on my house and my shed done in less than 6 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's stunning and amazing how good these are. So, for HVAC needs, don't forget Brown Refrigeration at 901-362-1881. He's really busy. He'll get to you as soon as he can.
But get as much information from him about the Remy Halo system.
Yes.
Those things are great.
Yeah, well, they make you breathe a lot easier. They're amazing.
Especially I'm an animal guy, so I've got animals in and out of my house all the time, 4-legged or 2-legged, and that Remy Halo will take care of all that pet dander in your pen.
It does. So, guys, wow. Speaking of pet dander and bringing that up, chances are if you have a pet, it has brought home a pet recently.
They tend to crawl in with another critters.
Yeah, this week in Critter Wars, we're going to start with, there are a lot of baby birds bailing out of the nest right now.
Yes.
If you have a cat or dog, chances are it may bring you a little something.
See, that's one of the things I love about my dog George is he's very bougie.
Right.
He sees one, and then he basically lets me know it's there in the yard. Like this thing.
Would you handle that for me, please? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like I will not sully my paws with this. Kind of deal.
That's a good dog.
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but if you're being robbed, he's gonna be looking at him. I don't know what you get out of his pockets.
He's like, "How dare you, sir?"
Yeah. So I'm going to point out with the baby birds, and how does this all tie into tools and tool talk and all that? If you want your afternoon disrupted, have one of the kids come run screaming into the house with a baby bird.
Oh, no.
Yep, it's on. All right, one, chances are the bird is not lost. Mommy is somewhere close in hand. Leave it alone if humanly possible.
Yeah, do not get your human stink on it.
Actually, they don't really care that much about that.
No, I'm just saying don't touch it.
Yeah. If you get to playing with it and messing with it, then...
You could hurt it more than you already think it's hurt. And also, there's nothing more embarrassing than to have birds chase you out of your own yard.
Mom and Dad can get a little protective. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. They get a little protective. Another one that I've discovered in the lovely city of Memphis that we're having kind of a resurgence of... I've had at least one call this week about bunnies.
Bunnies are everywhere lately. Especially, not so much. I haven't seen them so much in Memphis, but I'm a Pokemon Go guy, so I do my hunting in Bartlett.
Right.
And they're all over the park.
All right, those are not a Pokemon. Those are real rabbits.
No, I'm not going to throw a ball at those.
Are wild rabbits as evil as wild cats?
No.
Feral cats?
No. So far, what I've discovered is practically no property damage at all.
No.
Will they eat your garden?
No, they're nefarious. They are very nefarious because they will come at you and they will pitch that cute little nose and you're like, oh, it's a bunny, and you take it home. They're not easy to take care of.
No. You don't want a pet cottontail. They will eat your garden.
Uh-huh.
They will nibble.
As long as they don't eat me.
Part of the garden. They are actually shockingly cute.
The question is how do they manage to get on the counter every time? It's like they're this little thing. My counter's 4.5 feet tall. He ends up there and he's eating the lettuce.
Well, they've been given the God gift ability to jump and hop.
They can bounce pretty
good.
It's like
they should not be able to. This is NBA level jumping.
Oh, okay.
You left something really tasty on the counter. But that was one of the surprise ones this week was, a lady called me and said, would you please... Something is running back and forth in my bushes. I don't know what it is. It might be a snake. Or
might be a neighbor.
Could be. And, to our surprise, we start lifting up some of the ferns and stuff, and there was a little warren of cottontail bunnies that took off every which direction. So, again, the big advice there is they're really not going to do any damage. Leave them alone.
Well, you say they're not going to do any damage, but, we've all heard stories of how invasive a infestation of bunnies can be.
Well, they have a tendency. I believe in the movie they said they multiply well.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do produce more bunnies quickly.
And then those eat more of your peppers. And they don't like that, but they'll keep chewing on them anyway.
Well, all right, so far my peppers have been safe, so me and the bunnies are getting along fine.
Well, that's because you howl at the moon.
Well, that's true. But another one I got a call on this week was an armadillo.
Something else that I've seen a lot on the roads, and you've got to be careful with armadillos because, from what I understand, they carry salmonella.
They can.
And if you accidentally hit one with your car, they're going to damage you as much as you are them.
You don't want to hit one of these guys. They are somewhat softly armored. They are pretty much impervious to anything but a vehicle, which is why, unfortunately, they get hit.
Yeah.
However,
because
they will do a hardcore number on your garden.
Now,
they dig.
Now they dig.
They
will dig into your yard and then come up in various places, and you won't realize that there's a hole there until you're trying to mow.
Yes.
And then you end up with a snapped ankle.
Yeah. You got to be careful around armadillos. So be aware. It's that season. They're out there. Another thing to be very aware of right now is, of course, wasp. And that type of thing. There's a lot of them. It's hot.
And they're jerks.
They're irritable. They're jerks on a good day.
All right, you're a science guy, Alan. Explain to me what benefit they give to the ecosystem.
Well, actually, wasps eat a lot of what we would consider pests, like caterpillars.
Okay.
So they are usually hunting for something to take out. So, like your mud dauber wasp hunt for spiders.
Okay.
So their big prey is spiders. The giant wasp that has recently arrived in Memphis is a cicada killer.
Okay.
And these are about 3 to 4 inches long. They sound a lot like a Huey helicopter.
Oh, well, we're hearing a lot of
They're
today.
black and gold.
Okay.
And you will see them cruising slowly. They will fly very slowly around the yard. And they are looking for what we call locusts or cicadas, the guys that ring all summer long, which are going to pop up here in about a week.
Right.
So as soon as they pop up, all right, the one thing I can say about this wasp, it does not want anything to do with you. There's nothing it wants to talk to you about, and you'll hurt yourself before it would ever do anything to you.
The problem is that so many people have had bad experiences with wasps. So as soon as you see one something that even resembles a wasp, you freak out. You start waving things at it to try and get rid of it, and it's like, oh no, and then it will sting you, and
it
then
has
you
friends.
will go. You will go. Why is my arm 3 times the size it's supposed to be?
Yeah. So a lot of wasp going on out there right now. Another thing we had in the most recent critter war was of course, a snake.
Yes.
And again, these things don't want to have anything to do with you, and they will go on about themselves. Now, this is where I am going to throw in, go ahead and close your garage door if you have one. That keeps them out. Because as Ditch brought up, feral cats, we have quite a few of those these days, and they make a mess. So we want to move. We want to kind of get past those.
Domestic cats make a mess too.
Yeah,
so
they do. They do.
Just imagine your cat without manners.
Yeah, that is pretty close to the truth. So I think that's enough dire warnings about all of the wildlife living around us here.
Except when you just a heads up, because this it was around this time last year they got really bad in the suburbs. The coyotes are going to be out again, and with the bunnies out, they're looking for those for food.
Well, and we would be remiss if we didn't bring up raccoons real quickly.
Well, because
raccoons are pretty much done having their babies, and they've moved out of your house at this point.
Yeah.
So if you heard something in your attic this spring, now is the perfect time to start looking around your house and see how and where something was getting in.
Fill, patch, and repair all those holes.
Yes, and use good stuff. Don't don't assume they can't chew their way back in, because they can.
Yeah, we have a friend who had an issue with a raccoon, and she tried to keep it out by using expanding insulation foam. It just took that and basically left a big ball of chewed up insulation foam on her porch and climbed right back into that hole.
Yeah, it snatched that baby out and went on about his business. Yeah. So, raccoons are very inventive. They're very smart. They have hands. If they ever figure out bus tokens, they're probably going to drive.
That scares me.
They're very, very persistent animals. A thing.
And yes, they're cute, but that does not mean you should pet one.
No, you do not want to have anything that lives outside and doesn't live with you on purpose. Leave it alone. Really, you don't want to have much to do with it. Now, a lot of things we can talk about. Since we brought up so much about critters, I want to talk about the 3-inch rule.
Okay.
In your landscaping, and I know a lot of people are going to be doing a lot of yard work over the next couple of months. Look at your house from the point of view of something trying to get in it. And as you go around all of your exterior, you want to make sure there's at least 3 inches between any plant life and your property and your house. This keeps the ants and other creepy crawlies off the building.
Okay.
Because they're not climbing up the plants and they're not getting in. And this way it also gives you a chance to properly pest control the areas around your home. Because we are in the South. For those of you listening in the Memphis area, fantastic. If you're listening around the world, and we do have listeners as far abroad as Scotland and New Zealand.
We do.
Which I find amazing. So hi guys, thanks for listening.
I always figured the New Zealand people listen to Joe and go, oh, he thinks they've got snakes.
Yeah, well, yeah. I'm sorry, Australia and New Zealand wins the snake contest.
Every time.
Well, Florida's giving them a good run for their money, though. We got Burmese pythons now.
We have all sorts of reptiles in Florida.
Yeah, well, an amazing assortment these days, whether we needed them or not.
Right.
So those of you who listen in Florida, guys, really careful. Just be
very careful.
Really. Where were we going with all of this? We were back to
we were talking about the
3-inch
rule to make sure that none of your plant life or whatnot is right up against your house.
Is rubbing on the home, because what we really want is that little bit of a buffer, a little bit of a barrier in there. And it also gives you a chance to make sure that the mulch is not pushing water towards your home.
Because that can be bad for your foundation.
That is very bad for your foundation, because that gets watered down in there. It also gives the critter life some place to be when it gets really hot and starts drying out.
Okay.
So you get kind of an opposite problem. Because here in the Mid-South, we also have the American wood roach. And this thing is, I know at 6 o'clock in the evening when you open a cabinet drawer, it looks like it is the size of a skateboard.
Yeah.
They're only 2 or 3 inches long.
Right.
Yes, they can fly. They're a nice dark brown red. And they're fast.
They're very startling.
Yes.
Yeah.
You whip open a cabinet drawer and one of those falls out. As a general rule, most people don't even know their house has them until one dries up and dies, and you know.
And you see it on the floor, and you're like, where did you come from?
Yeah, assumes the dead cockroach position in the middle of your bathroom or your kitchen.
It's
generally
always your bathroom or your kitchen.
Well, that's where they can find water.
Right.
They're trying to find water.
Yeah.
They don't want to be in your house.
No.
All right, this isn't like the other cockroaches and stuff like the German or the French that want to live with us.
Right.
They don't want anything to do with us, but they are looking for a place a little safer than where they were outside.
Right.
So this is why having that 3-inch rule around all of your shrubberies and things gives you a spot to get your pest control in and make sure the critters on the outside stay out, the critters you want on the inside can stay in.
Okay, well, now that you brought that up, and I mean, it just, my brain's now going, what about homes with water features? How can we best, prepare or, whatever our water features so that we aren't just a breeding ground for mosquitoes?
Wow, an amazingly good question. One, don't put it next to the house. Right. Don't put it so that it's adjacent.
It's always best to have it in a back corner of the yard.
Well, most people put them off the patio or someplace of a desired location so you can truly enjoy it.
Right.
But keep in mind, it's water. And any standing source of water in the Mid-South is a breeding ground for mosquitoes.
And
I mean, as simple as somebody's got an old tire. That is like a mosquito factory.
And I'm not trying to disparage our city, but there's old tires everywhere.
And those are why we have so many mosquitoes. Please don't forget about a swimming pool at an abandoned house.
See,
again,
I would have
mosquito breeding.
I would have never even thought about that.
Oh my gosh. I had one case a few years ago where we got called in, and it literally looked like something out of the Discovery Channel.
Swamp people.
Oh my gosh, it was just absolutely terrifying, the number of mosquitoes on this property. So, yeah, you didn't want to fall asleep out there. You'd have been exsanguinated.
Yeah,
it's amazing. So, moving water does not have mosquitoes in it. Mosquitoes need still water.
So basically, if you're going to have, one of the things that will help with a water feature is if it's got a fully functioning pump that is...
It needs a bubbler or a pump.
Right.
There's some small fish life like guppies or mosquito guppies that you can add to a water feature. A, gives it a little bit of interest, and B, they love to eat mosquito larvae.
Anything that eats mosquitoes is my friend. Yeah.
So, they can be very, very well fed in Memphis. No problem at all. The biggest thing is the water needs to be clean and moving.
Okay.
So if you've put in a bird bath, it needs to be cleaned out at least once a week. All the water dumped, everything refilled. If you're really a bird feeder, bird aficionado, they're probably screaming at the radio right now. What do you mean once a week? You do it once a day. Yeah. But just to keep down, critters, once a week, will get rid of any baby mosquito larvae that have hatched out in there.
Okay.
Pour them out, put fresh, clean water in it, let the birds continue enjoy having a nice bird bath.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing is check your property and look for things that could be holding water. And you will, depending upon your property, you can find the darndest things. Of an old soda can can hold water. Of an old plastic cup can hold water.
The bottom of a wheel on a mobile grill.
Yes, believe it or not.
Because if you've got a grill that you can push around, you will notice that those plastic wheels have a hole in them, so that when you do have, they drain, whatever's coming off the grill. Those will fill up with water with our wonderful sideways rains here in the Mid-South.
Yes.
And they, once again, mosquitoes.
So mosquito, we went from cute bunnies all the way over to mosquitoes because, well, welcome to being outside. Yeah. That is just one of the things, and the mosquito population is not showing any chance of abating anytime soon.
No, we hear stories that it's like they've got plans to deal with the mosquitoes, and the mosquitoes just go, hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my blood. I'll be over here. Quick thing to point out with mosquitoes, they love lots of foliage and coverage. So if you've got a really thick garden, much I have to hold my hand up and say I'm guilty, you may want to have this treated at least a couple of times a year to knock down part of the population.
Right.
Again, double check for any standing water. And sneakily enough, this might include your potted plants. Because there are self-watering pots.
I was going to say, the same ones you told us to put ice cubes in?
Well, those are the ones that have the holes in the bottom.
Right.
That the water drains out too fast. But there are a variety of self-watering pots that have water in a recess, in a reservoir around the bottom. And if this reservoir is open to the air, mosquitoes can get down in there.
Okay.
And so if you're trying to enjoy your patio and you're just being bitten to death every time you go out there, it might actually be the reservoirs on the bottom of your container plants that are inviting the mosquitoes in.
Okay.
So little words of caution about how to clean up around the house, live with the critters that are around you, because like we said, an evening like tonight after the air show is going to be absolutely glorious.
Right.
And I know we normally talk about DIY and tools, but let's face it, at this point in time, your patio is as important as your living room.
It is where we spend the majority of our time during the summer.
And we do a lot of cooking outside.
We do.
And you and I would
I'm doing
remiss.
I'm doing kebabs tonight. I mean,
yes.
It's like it's something we have to do, and you don't want to do that when you're like having to run from hordes of mosquitoes.
Yeah, and, well, you also don't want to have to wear 4 pounds of repellent and basically bug spray, some kind of bug spray all over your body to be able to enjoy your outside.
Because the one thing we've learned, me and you, in the cooking world, is scents and whatnot that are on you transfers to the food.
It does.
Yeah, and the last thing you want to do is serve somebody, like grilled chicken with a side of DEET.
Yep. No, we don't want a side of DEET. So this is Tool Talk Radio, ladies and gentlemen. This is News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. We're being brought to you today by the Brown Refrigeration Studios on the road. And we are out here at the Millington Air Show in Millington, Tennessee. And right now it is still just a little bit quiet, but lots of really powerful looking machinery keeps moving into place. So I'm expecting a lot of noise coming up real soon.
Sonic booms.
Yeah, when we come back, we're going to talk about 30 Years of Stupid and bracing for a remodel.
News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis. Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
This is Tool Talk Radio on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis, brought to you by the Brown Refrigeration Studios on the road this week at the Millington Air Show in Millington, Tennessee. Wow, more and more stuff.
More and more stuff.
More and more stuff is lining up.
More and more people.
and a lot more food vendors.
Yeah,
that's definitely
it smells
on my hit
really
list here in
good.
just a second. So yeah, so far the temps are nice. The breeze is good.
Right, I can't complain. We've got a nice little shady spot here.
We do.
Soon the aroma of food will be exchanged for the smell of jet fuel.
Yes.
Hey.
Both are exciting.
They both feed my soul.
In so many ways. I will have to say, you ready for a Joe segue?
Sure.
An organization like this is very well organized. That work for you?
I was gonna say it's
Shelf Genie organization? Is that
Yeah,
what you're
Shelf
getting?
Genie level of organization, yeah.
I don't know if Cindy Williams has a Shelf Genie unit big enough for the equipment that's out here, but if anybody has something where you can sort planes, I'm sure it's Shelf Genie.
Definitely give Shelf Genie of the Mid-South a call at 901-422-8225. They are the experts at organizing your kitchen, your pantry. We've thrown in toy room,
your man cave. If you have a room that is cluttered, a Shelf Genie unit will fix that problem. Unless you're just one of those people who clutters everything.
Well, that's true.
But at least the Shelf Genie will help you find your clutter.
Precisely designed systems, expertly measured, expertly installed. It's a complete internal system.
Yep.
They don't use outside contractors. They don't have somebody just coming out to the house.
And one of the things that I learned recently was that everybody they have that comes to work for them has to go to an actual school.
Has to go to Genie
and
school.
Learns exactly how to do this thing. So it's not like they just hand the kit to a new hire and go, all right, put that together.
Yeah.
No, they get genuine training, which is something you lose in a lot of outside contractors when you're doing something like this.
And you and I are kind of fond of our kitchens, and we're kind of picky.
We really are.
And I love the Shelf Genie systems.
Yeah. I do not have one in my home yet, but that's also because I share my kitchen with my wife.
Yes.
And she is an organization, just
she
guru.
She's yours.
Genuinely perfect at it. But I want to do it just so that she can see what she can get to make it better. I may spend an entire year's salary on stuff. Once Amy gets her hands on something, she'll be like, okay, and we need this for this and this and this, and it's worth it though.
Yes.
In the long run, it not only saves the things you're organizing, but saves you a lot of time and effort.
Well, I always kind of go back to the sale value and resale value of your home, and this is definitely a wow factor.
It's true.
Somebody walks in and, the whole spice cabinet on the top shelf can be pulled down to the counter level and then put back up into the cabinet
without disconnecting.
Yeah, that's an amazing thing. Well, we talked about the amazing things you can have in your home. It's time to talk about some of the things that are not necessarily so amazing.
Okay, all right. What you got for me?
We're going to talk about a little 30 Years of Stupid.
Ooh. Looks like a loose nail.
Yeah, 1 out of 25 ain't bad.
You don't have any code violations, do you? Nope.
How many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
What do you think of the house that Love built? Oh, shoot.
Frightening thing. I think I've been all three of those places. Okay. The 30 Years of Stupid I want to bring up this time is at least 2 properties that I looked at this week where incorrect grading and or incorrect landscaping has put water down walls.
Okay, you're going to have to explain.
Okay. We have, in certain parts of town, we have a number of houses that are over and unders.
Yes.
Multiple story houses. However, including my own, my downstairs is about 6 feet underground.
Okay. I've
got windows literally at dirt level behind the bushes, and then you have an upstairs, which is not a full 2 stories above you. You kind of go up a little set of stairs, and you're there.
Yeah, I had to clean one of those out during our last big floods.
Yes.
Yeah, it was not fun.
You go out the back door, and I have 2 full stories, but the first story is tucked into the hill.
Right.
And there are a lot of houses that are built that way, especially back in the 70s and 80s.
Okay.
It's very, very cool. And there are a lot of houses that have great display ports. So the house kind of backs up into a hill. Then they have got a lot of glass around the front. But all of these things have one kind of horrible thing in common.
And that is?
Water.
Water.
Water is, once again, water is the enemy in a lot of cases, these walls have begun to crack or take on water.
Right.
Or over the years, the landscaping has shifted, or that little cute baby tree has now become a giant, mighty whatever it is. And its root system has now pushed into your house or under your foundation, and it just becomes a bit of an issue because now it's, we just had a really, really wet spring.
We did.
And a lot of people are discovering that my wall has been compromised.
And that just sounds like something's going to invade. Mold.
Water. Mold.
Various,
it's
critters.
very bizarre to find an earthworm just dried up on the kitchen floor because he came literally through the wall somewhere.
That's disturbing.
Roots.
That is very disturbing.
Yeah, ditch the ground. Tree roots. Tree roots are shockingly strong.
I don't know if I would say I was shocked at how strong they are, but
you don't really think about it because it's just this little soft piece of plant.
They can make its way all the way through a concrete block.
Yes, and then split the concrete block.
And then devour it.
Move it out of the way. And especially, I loved walking through towns like Fairhope, Alabama, which have got all of these gargantuan huge oaks that 100 years ago somebody came in and put these beautiful sidewalks around them.
I'm pretty sure I'm too weird for Fairhope, Alabama.
No, you'd fit in pretty good, most of it. But the trees didn't necessarily agree with these sidewalks.
Okay.
And have now, in a kind of a weird plastic molding kind of way, grown over and around them.
That could be problematic.
And it's very beautiful. I mean, it's very picturesque. It looks like somebody melted it a little bit, kind of molded it around a little bit. But it's how the tree has grown over the last 100 years.
Okay.
And, this same process is taking place underground next to your subterranean wall.
Oh.
And these tree roots have grown up to it and have begun to push. And I've also noticed around town in the last couple of years, people with wall features in their yards have begun to bow.
Okay.
The soil is pushing forward, again, with all the moisture we've had. I know half of the country is a drought. We are on the other side of that, and we're getting their water.
Well, I mean, hey, welcome to America. We're divisive on everything.
Oh, my gosh. So a lot of these walls are getting pushed in. So some quick advice on how to avoid, and it's not so stupid as just 30 years of what of the soil is moved, the soil is compacted, the soil is settled, a tree has moved through it, things have dug through it. It has now been pushing against the house for 30, 40, 50, 60 years. It depends on how well the wall was reinforced originally. A lot goes into what was put in there. Because unfortunately, a lot of people discover that, especially in the 60s and 70s, the running joke was contractors bury their dead. All the hole got dug, and all they filled the hole over.
Contractors is in, people who can work on your house.
On your house.
You know my background. I went for the record.
You went a slightly different direction with that.
But
no, we're not at that festival anymore.
Okay.
So we're here with tools and airplanes.
Yeah.
So, of what happens though, eventually, termites, mold, begin begin to find these organic materials,
Right.
and they begin to break down. And as they break down, they take up less space. So it begins to collapse.
Mobile are now,
or at least try. One of the biggest things that you can look for is a crack in your sidewalk, or a crack in your driveway, or a crack in your that tells you that something is shifting, something has bent enough to crack the concrete.
and we've seen that a lot in the older neighborhoods. All of a sudden, just break and tilt upwards because and a lot of times people will remove that tree, but then they'll fill that hole with dirt instead of trying to reposition the concrete, because there's just a lot of people in town that don't know how to fix things.
Well, that's true, and they remove the tree, and a lot of times they remove the tree and leave the stump.
Yeah,
and that's a lot of wood to decay. And of course, termites, ants, and other creatures are going to move into that and begin decaying it and tearing it down. Another thing that has happened to a lot of homes in the Mid-South is that beautiful, picturesque plant you paid so much for is now a monster and was planted too close to the house.
and it's growing up the wall and across your window pane
And under your foundation.
Yep.
So,
and into that nice little nook right between the roof and the frame.
that all... The cautionary tale here is, again, we started with the 3-inch rule to make sure that your normal landscaping and hedges and stuff stay off the building to keep critters from having a path into your home.
It's also a very good thing to have with things that were not quite 3 inches or quite a ways that have
They
now
could be
moved
10
much
feet
closer.
or 20 feet,
Yeah.
but they might reach.
Yeah.
So another thing to look at is basically your yard. Are you running over stumps? Are you hitting tree roots? If you see that this is all encroaching on your home, keep in mind they're looking for water. You could even have a minor leak in a pipe underneath there.
Right.
Because, well, I hate to say it, but in certain parts of town, having to dig up the front yard to fix a leaky pipe is becoming a very common affair.
Yeah, my next door neighbor currently has about, their yard used to be very big and lush, and it is currently about a 4 by 3 foot space because they've had to dig up the rest of the yard in order to replace and deal with pipes. I had to actually deal with that in my home. Luckily, it was in my home and not the yard.
Right.
I say that, but that's actually not as it would have been better in the yard, but we had to have the entire kitchen taken up because of a root system that hit a pipe, and it cracked the pipe.
And by taking up, we mean asphalt and everything.
Yes.
You mean
yes.
you had dirt in your kitchen.
Yeah, when you work nights and you're trying to sleep during the day while there's 3 guys with jackhammers in your house because they're having to take up a big chunk of concrete foundation because my house is on a slab.
Right.
Or it used to be on a singular piece slab. Now it's been patched.
Yeah. Now you have a slab plus 1.
Right.
Right. So we to the true guy pipe.
And what's bad is that the tree we didn't remove them. They just
Wow. So there's a lot of things ignore the
right
of a get you an umbrella and walk around your house when it rains, because that will be flowing to your house, the wall away from your house is of course the absolute scenario. Are your gutters doing a good job, or are you are you pooling water next to the house and just waiting on it to come on in?
right.
And unfortunately, the answer is generally the latter, because it's so easy for something to have changed. So you put in you put in that garden, or you changed how the water is in your yard, or grass. regular dirt level.
And it's worth to also because we're on a fault line.
We're not like
we're skyscrapers, but it's a good idea to see we one. Check your.
Never a bad idea.
Well, I mean, you do that without any your crop.
Yes. Well, I am going to.
You've got a huge garden, so you're going to go look at it anyway.
Do you recommend beds on the house, right? I mean, up against the house.
Well,
certain things you should not plant around your house, right?
Well, you got to look at the mature level. How big does this holly bush get?
I'm sorry, I was thinking us and thinking mature.
Oh, well,
it's not going to happen.
No. What I'm thinking is, there are some of those Japanese maples that stay 3 feet tall forever. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
But there are a couple that get to be 15 or 20 feet tall and will have full-grown tree invasive root systems of different kinds of hedges grow to be different size bushes. And I know it's beautiful now, and people have this tendency to think, well, I'll keep it cut back. But those roots and that stump system underneath there can really overpower and crack a foundation or force the way into the house. So you really have to kind of think, what do I want to put where?
Mm-hmm.
And you want to give big plants a little room.
But it's also watering of plant. If you up against your house, how you water those beds
exactly
is issue.
Well, that's why I tell everybody, you always need
got to be sealed tight.
Well, another good thing, before you put your bed in, it's never a bad idea to put a bed against the house. So you're not putting water right up against your inside wall. Another one is, where is the water when you have these elevated houses and you have sloped yards?
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of that
all
pitched, throughout the South.
If the yard if your yard is not pitched correctly, you're going to have problems. And French drains across your yard sometimes don't always work, because if you get a huge drenching all at once, the French drain's not going to catch all that. It's just going to run across the surface of your yard straight to your house.
It can overwhelm it easily. Very fine clay.
Mm-hmm.
So a drain also needs to feature the ability to clean it. And installed all over the and have basic things.
No
clean it, so you get a wash out. Have to put it in the bottom. So years, because the thing costs to repair. If you have to this is and they're dig a 6 foot deep hole.
They're going to trench down to the footer and get that.
And about sealing the concrete and put in place, back in the appropriate gravel so that you've got good drainage. That was soil, and that's when we $15,000 or $20,000.
Just to include or can include sump pumps where you send all the water to a specific area and then you pump it out of the area because you want it as far away from your house as possible. Now, folks who have sump pumps inside the foundation of the house for just this problem, and again, to begin with. And if you're just putting sump pumps in there to try to get rid of it, you have bigger problems.
The pump at least keeping it from coming any further. Because my house is a sump pump, and when that baby kicks on, we are throwing water across the backyard.
Yeah.
It is amazing how much water you have in a dry climate sometimes.
There's a part of me that just wants to watch that.
If you're get drenched.
I'll stay.
All right. Well, this is Tool 89, the Roar of Memphis, and we'll be back right after this.
Tool Talk Radio with Joe and Allan.
You're making a plan while I'm being a man, just winging it.
News Talk 98.9, the Roar of Memphis.
This is Tool Talk Radio on News Talk 98.9, the Roar of Memphis, brought to you by the Brown Refrigeration Studios on the road. This week we are in Millington at the Millington Air Show, watching a lot of big shiny aircraft get pulled into position and getting that anticipation of something's going to fire up here shortly.
We haven't been home in a while. This is 3 weeks in a row on the road. I'm really enjoying it.
Max is really enjoying it. He's moved a lazy boy into Joe's chair and everything.
I had to play the Wingin' It song in honor of Joe since he's not here.
We had to wing it today at best, so.
I don't know. I think we're doing a pretty good job. I'm sure Joe will yell at me later, but
yeah, but it's okay. The wind has shifted,
literally,
and we are now behind the food court.
Yes.
Yeah. Welcome to coming out and attending an event like this today. The sky is blue, the breeze is brisk, the temp is not bad.
The ceiling, I guess, this is perfect for flying, right? As they say,
these guys can see everything.
Yeah, the Blue Angels are out here. Fat Albert's first time Fat Albert has actually been at this air show in a number of years. 2014 was the last time there.
Describe Fat for people.
Fat Albert is the Blue Angels C-130.
Yes.
That flies with them and brings all of the necessary things that go with the Blue Angels, and it's quite a show. This is like going to see the Rolling Stones at a concert. All the gear that comes with them, and they are the main event. There's U.S. Navy F-35C out here. There's Air Force F-22. There is a lot of vintage aircraft as well, and some local flyers who fly vintage aircraft. David Peeler is a Memphis native. Flies a T-6 Texan, a historic plane for sure, one to see, and he is here. There's also the Army Aviation Heritage Foundation, which brought helicopters out. The Bell UH-1 Huey helicopters are here.
Honestly, the original Huey helicopters.
Yes,
and they have that unique sound.
Yeah. And there's one that you can't miss because I think it's probably the largest aircraft out here on the tarmac. At least it looks like it from here. The C-17 Globemaster.
The thing is huge.
This thing is massive. A Boeing C-17 Globemaster operated out of the 164th Air National Guard Airlift Wing. It is massive. There's interactive stuff. You can get see a cockpit of an F-18. As we said, a lot of vintage aircraft as well. FedEx has a full full complement of their aircraft here as well, all the way from the little Cessnas that they use to deliver to smaller airports and smaller communities, all the way up to their B-757. Then there's an interesting airplane that's right behind us called the Air Sail. Mm-hmm. And the Air Sail is a Boeing 737 that is actually an experimental plane right now.
Right.
It has not been approved yet by the FAA.
I want to fly it.
This thing has one of the most enhanced flight vision systems in aviation, and it is on display here. It won't be flying, but it is here. It's actually parked right behind us. Then the other one I think that's really cool is the P-8 Poseidon. The Boeing P-8 Poseidon is a maritime patrol aircraft that operates in anti-submarine warfare scenarios. Yep. On board, this thing carries torpedoes, harpoon, anti-ship missiles, and a lot of other weaponry, and this thing looks cool. Well, long, flared-out wings on this thing. It is a really cool
It looks
aircraft.
like an escapee from a Batman movie. It really does. And the fact that it has harpoons.
Uh-huh.
That's just not something you get to bring up and talk about very often.
That's right. So, of course, the Blue Angels will do a show later this afternoon, but I'm excited to see something get up in the air here any minute now.
We keep hearing stuff warm up off in the distance here and there, and of course I noticed they've pulled a Blue Angel closer. It's sitting.
That is a display
there.
Blue Angel. We were
That's
also
not one of the ones that flies.
that's the one that's been retired and used for display. But
right.
I'll tell you something about that Blue Angel that's sitting right next to it is a Blue Angel Ford Mustang. And when you open the hood of that, and actually I posted pictures on our Twitter at Newstalk 989 and our Facebook at Newstalk 989 MEM. They've painted an American flag on the inside of the hood.
Right.
So when you put the hood up, it really looks cool, and it's the Blue Angel logo on the sides. It's painted Blue Angel blue, of course, and it's one of the cool displays they have here. Also, we were told last week on Memphis Morning News, Amy, who is the media representative for the Mid-South Air Show, she came on and she said one of the Blue Angels flying today was actually used in the Top Gun Maverick movie.
Oh, really?
It has been repurposed as a Blue Angel.
Nice.
So just know that what perfect timing for that movie to come out and this air show to happen.
Oh,
I'm not going to get into it, but I may bring it up later today on Geek Tank. But if you have not seen Top Gun Maverick, you have to go see that. And if you can get in on an IMAX showing, absolutely, because when those turbines kick up, you feel it.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
Which is what we're going to feel later today here when they kick up. So,
I got to tell you, Thursday when you and I were here, we're standing here getting the booth together, and I am utterly amazed that an airplane can sneak up on you
so quietly, and then just all of a sudden it crop dust your head, man.
Just boom through here, and we're like, I think a Blue Angel just. I think I could have thrown a golf ball in the air and hit the plane as it went by.
They don't recommend you do, by the way.
Do not do that.
You'll get in serious trouble.
Yeah.
But we got to see a little bit of the show on Thursday as they were practicing out here, and it's pretty cool. It's something that we haven't seen in a long time here at the Mid-South Air Show. So it's going to be an exciting day today. And, how about this weather, man? It's just a light breeze. Just enough to kind of keep you cool. It's like you're sitting in front of a box fan on medium, man.
After this past week, we needed this.
Yeah, this is going to be quite the show. So, guys, if you're coming out, please come out. And if you happen to be over by the tower, swing by and say hello.
Yeah, we're right next between the tower and the terminal, man. They put us in a good spot here. So
it's wonderful, and we're just. We're literally one fence hop away from all the food.
And please respect the guys telling you where to park. Don't just drive out here.
Yeah, I've seen a carload of people just decide they're going to just drive right up.
Keep in mind, this is military, and they can be unamused.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. So, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you can text us today at the Big M Roofing and Remodeling Hotline at 901-683-0989. Feel free to give Max a call. Check us out online. We're at tooltalkradio.com, and you can keep up with all of our various past misadventures. Go online, take a look, like us, and subscribe.
Absolutely.
Give us a thumbs up. Hang out with us a little bit.
And honestly, just hang out at News Talk 98.9 all Saturday. There's nothing bad on here.
You should. Well, speaking of nothing bad, should we brace ourselves for remodeling?
Why do you have to bring up the bad things after I say not bad?
Well, is the pandemic showed us, and this is showing no real signs of abating. And I think we also need to talk a little bit about shopping.
No.
Yeah, I think we need to talk a little bit about shopping because, we've had a lot of supply chain issues all across the board. Well, now that much of the pandemic is getting behind us a little bit.
We're going to say it's quelled. It's not gone.
No, people. It is definitely not gone anywhere.
Yeah.
But more and more things are able to happen.
Right.
Like the Wonderful Air Show here today. But one of the things behind the scenes that has begun to happen is logistics is working better.
Yes.
And they have arranged for a lot of the ships, which almost everything we enjoy comes off of at one point or another, to start being unloaded.
Right.
Because we've all seen the news that there, half of the world's produce, all of its production is sitting on a boat somewhere in an ocean.
Yeah.
Well, it's all coming into port, and there's enough truckers available, or at least becoming available, to get these goods to where they're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So, all right, a huge shout out to anybody working in logistics. because you guys have had a challenge for the last couple of years.
And I'm going to say a huge shout out to anybody, specifically in transportation. You guys keep us moving, and when you guys weren't moving, we were failing.
It was kind of sad. But now a lot of things are catching up. And we're starting to see a lot of reports from a lot of the big superstores, a lot of the big chains, and a lot of the big buck stores that stuff we ordered 2 years ago is just now showing up.
We have even heard the elusive word of overstock.
Yes. So since we've been talking outside and we're outside on such a lovely day, I'm going to tell everybody, be aware that there's probably going to be some deals on patio furniture.
Yes.
Because it's big, it's bulky, and nobody wants to keep it in the warehouse. So that would be my first, subtle shopping hint for the rest of the summer, is you're going to see more and more materials showing up at your local retailers.
Yeah. And everybody wants to entertain.
Yes.
Even the most introverted of introverts wants to entertain, even if they're only entertaining themselves outside. So I definitely recommend patio furniture.
Our photographer is looking bizarre, walking off with a chair.
Yeah.
It might be a wrestling match about to happen in a minute.
What was that all about?
there is other media here besides us. So our photographer may be going to take somebody out.
We seem to be the only legit media here, though. And Angel, our photographer, just looked at us, grabbed the photog stool, and just walked off through the gate. I guess she's going to go find a place to sit and take pictures. All right. That was our guest stool, but that's okay. Our guests don't need to.
I don't think she was all that impressed with where they had them. Or it may have been
no,
the people.
She's not.
It may have been the people she had to be around while she was there that she wasn't impressed with.
She was not impressed with where the other media got sort of just thrown into the corner.
Well, I'm sorry. All I'm hearing is a scene from Shrek where somebody screamed, "Give him the chair."
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, knowing our photographer.
Photo violence has layers.
If we hear the MPs head in a certain direction, we'll know where we have to go. Let it never be said that those of us at Tool Talk Radio can't
We'll get her out after the show.
We will. Oh my gosh. That was hilarious.
Oh, so patio furniture, eh?
Yeah, we're back at patio furniture. Look for deals. Look for a lot more stuff coming in. I would say watch your local retailers for a lot of home improvement type stuff, a lot of furniture.
Yes.
I know people were ordering furniture at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was taking 6 to 9 months.
And they were canceling those orders, but those orders can't be, just stopped.
Once the factories made it, it's coming. So just because it was, Brandon has a friend. Brandon has a lightning bug.
There's critters everywhere.
Yep. So
this is the most scrambled segment we've ever done.
Yeah, well, things are flying in, stuff's starting to happen. They're warming up airplanes. It's kind of fun watching the crowd. So bracing for your remodel, there's probably going to be some deals coming up. If you're looking at doing some furniture upgrades, you're probably not a bad time to start doing a little shopping for that.
And it might even be a good time to negotiate some of those prices. Because people are looking to move that stock.
Yes.
Because this stuff has shown up, but they've already got things coming in from other manufacturers.
Right.
And we've already heard from certain stores that they're having to cancel current orders because they don't have any room in the warehouse.
What an unusual situation to be in after 3 years of
nothing.
It's not here.
Yeah.
It's not here, and it's not going to be here.
Yeah.
Now it's coming in.
It's like I'm half expecting to start getting spam calls where people don't want to buy my house but want to, sell me things to fix up my house.
Yep. That could happen very quickly. Yeah. What you had brought up, bracing yourself for the remodel, and I'm kind of like, well, not necessarily a bad time to be thinking about that all of a sudden.
True.
What do you want to remodel? And the biggest question I'm going to throw in for anybody is, what is the bang for your buck? Is this a remodel because you want something? Is something outdated? Is something not working for you? The first question you need to really brutally ask yourself is, why am I doing this?
And I will almost guarantee you that maybe 45% of the people who are getting into a remodel are doing it because they want to upgrade their kitchen because of skills they have learned while having been quarantined during the pandemic. Something, it's like everybody tried their hand at sourdough, which that's not a good thing. I love you. I love sourdough, but no, I can't.
We have been inundated with bread. We've been inundated with bread.
Don't let my wife hear me say that I'm tired of bread. She is a bread snob.
I know, but we've been inundated with bread.
But so many things that people have gotten involved with during the pandemic has led to. I want to turn this old, this spare bedroom into an office. I want to turn this into a gym. I want to remodel my bathroom because I didn't realize just how much time I spent there when I wasn't using the bathroom at work. I want to remodel the kitchen. And now that you've got people, who can get into your house, who have the supplies to do the jobs you want, it really is about, it's like, how much am I willing to spend on my new skill?
And how much are you willing to put up with to get what you want? Because the thing that shocks most people about a remodel is, can you lose this bathroom? Because honestly, when they snatch the floor out of it,
you ain't going in there.
It's done.
No.
It's done, and it's inconvenient. And the other thing I'm going to put in is automatically whatever it is you put in your head. It's going to take 2 weeks to get this done.
At least.
You need to double it.
Yeah.
We still got weird shortages.
I know there are people out there that are telling you it's like they can retrofit your bathroom in a day.
Maybe.
That is a best case scenario.
If everything's in stock.
Right.
If everything's available and
if
the standard sizes fit.
And if they don't run into problems when they start removing other things.
Well, as we know from 30 Years of Stupid, the chances you're going to run into something else,
that's a guarantee,
is almost perfect. It's a perfect score. It's batting 1,000.
There's a 98% chance that when you have them pull that toilet out, the pipes underneath are going to have to be completely replaced before you put that new unit in.
It needs a new seating. It needs a new mount. Maybe it needs nothing. Maybe it needs everything. You just don't know. And then, of course, you get into what is kind of condition is the flooring in around it. Do you want to upgrade? Because a lot of homes were built before we had Wonderboard.
Right.
And for those of you who have never dealt with Wonderboard, Wonderboard is basically plywood made out of concrete.
Yeah.
That's the simplest explanation I can give you for it. It is a woven, multi-layered, fibered product, but it is fundamentally concrete.
Right.
So at the beginning and end of the day, it's stone. It doesn't expand. It doesn't contract.
You don't fall through it as easily.
It's a very stable, very water. I'm not going to say absolutely waterproof, but I'm going to say exceedingly water resistant.
Right.
Far better than any piece of wood is ever going to be.
True.
So, these are things to look at. Also, the number of materials that have changed, because how we put in a shower today is similar, but a lot easier and a lot better than it was 40 years ago.
It really is. And, jumping from one of our favorite rooms to the other one, when you're bringing in new kitchen appliances.
Right.
Standard sizes have changed since your house was built back in the 60s.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yep.
And avocado green is still around.
And while you may have been able to get a stove that fits that area, about a decade ago, not necessarily going to have that, luxury today.
So, things to brace yourself for, and whether you're remodeling or not, or just looking at upgrade, watch your prices, go look at the new materials, and let's see what else is out there, because, a lot of things have changed. You now have a refrigerator that can go look and see if you need eggs.
And it will send you a text message to your phone while you're in the grocery store.
It's weird
stuff. But you also which means you want to make sure that your kitchen has a viable internet connector. Whether it
Welcome
be
to having Wi-Fi.
Whether it
right.
be an Ethernet or whether you need to put a Wi-Fi booster in that kitchen, because some of that other kitchen equipment can hamper a Wi-Fi signal.
There was a warning that came out last week about a Chinese coffee maker that in China is equipped with a chip that they monitor the end user. Now, not that China wants to know what kind of coffee you're drinking, but that's an access point to your home Wi-Fi.
Right.
And so the warning came out about those coffee makers, same brand, and the manufacturer in China says, we're not putting the chip in the American coffee makers, or the coffee makers that we're shipping elsewhere. It's just in China. But the warning is out that's like, do you want somebody spying on you? I mean, it not spying on you as much as gaining access to your home Wi-Fi if you're not fully firmware and all that stuff is updated.
And here's the thing. We've all had this happen with an Amazon order or anything from a warehouse where the wrong product gets shipped out to a certain location.
Yeah.
And if you're buying that, $200 coffee maker through Wish for $80, that is coming from a warehouse where those guys are just going to go, it's this number, throw it out here.
Yeah.
And I'm not worried about China spying on me or getting into my system at home through my coffee maker, but there's enough, just guys who want to hack stuff here in the U.S. that just don't care.
It's an entry point that you have to be, and it's not so much, oh my God, the Chinese are spying on me, as much as it is just make sure that your gateway at your home is fully, the firmware is updated. Anytime you get a warning or a message that says a new update, update it. Because as many devices as our homes now access the internet, if you're one of those who wants your washing machine to access it or your refrigerator or anything, make sure that, because where it can get out to the internet, there are people waiting to try to get in, and if you've ever had your identity stolen, it's not a fun thing to go through.
There are people who will literally drive through your neighborhood testing for Wi-Fi signals.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember a million years ago when portable phones came out. It wasn't a cell phone. It was a cordless phone,
and you could
it
pick
had
up
an
other
antenna. And if you were an innovative, bright, annoying teenager, you could take your AT&T with the big antenna and go ride your bicycle down the street until you got a dial tone.
Yeah.
And then you could make free phone calls. And I heard that was a legend that happened. And today it's even stranger because
you heard. I can confirm.
But today the refrigerator is looking for somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
I had no idea the stove got lonely.
We've all seen that commercial with Kenan Thompson. He's buying the car through Carvana, and all of his appliances are talking to him. That's a smart home. That's not something that I'm a big fan of, but hey, to each their own.
Well, yeah, and this is where getting it professionally installed comes in.
Yeah.
And I get to look and go, all right, guys, if you really need a smart home system or somebody to check yours, call Brown Refrigeration, 901-362-1881, because they have smart home systems. It's wild. It's wild watching this stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Tool Talk Radio on News Talk 98.9, The Roar of Memphis, and we have been broadcasting live from on the road at the Millington Air Station, and we're going to get ready to go get some Pronto Pups and watch some airplanes fly. So have a great day, and we'll be back with Geek Tank Radio in just a little bit.